Hey ratbags, today I'm going to go through the known glitches, cheese, dupes and things that you may not realise about Sons of the Forest, including ways to break it. Huge spoilers towards the end on how you can complete the game literally in 10 minutes. And for solo players out there, how to duplicate logs. Plus get a ton of arrows absolutely anywhere on the map, never take full damage and get unlimited resources. Let's go. Few obvious tips or things you might not know. Give a gun to Virginia. She's a much better shot than you, even if she's a bit slower sometimes. She'll have unlimited ammo, so really good for defending. Just do it, drop your gun off to her whenever you come back from a cave, and then maybe take it when you're about to depart. She does go through stages sometimes where she won't be shooting, so I guess it's like the gameplay way of slowing it down so it's not too OP, but yeah, hopefully she'll be helping you defend against them creepies. And do give her a GPS token. Looking at the achievements, it's one of the lowest rated achievements, surprisingly. You can keep track of where she is if you give her one of the GPS locations. So the cross is one of the most powerful weapons in the game when you do that last level or dungeon. Against other creepies, not always that great. It does the job against maybe fingers to distract them for a few moments, but other creepies, not so much. Same thing with masks. Sometimes masks work, sometimes they don't, and you're like wondering what's going on. Well, basically, when you first start up a game, you're likely to get a few scouts come by. Try not to kill them. If you do, that's when they start signalling for raiding parties to come and attack your base. Hence why some players have had a really hard time in the first few days. You're better off just letting them steal a couple of logs. So if you see someone trying to steal one log, let them take it. If you wake up in a cannibal camp, likelihood is that the mask won't necessarily work. Quick note on peaceful, it doesn't mean there's no enemies, it just means they won't actually attack you. Custom mode is the best bet if you really want the easiest experience possible. Make sure you change it in there, or maybe even the hardest. And despite every Tom, Dick and Harry telling you it depends where you skip the cutscene or choose the button where you land, that's complete baloney. It's completely random what of the 3 spawn locations you will get. It does look like it's weighted towards more the beach, because out of the 15 times I've tried now, 12 of them have actually been at the beach. I've only had 1 in the snow and the rest were in the forest. But yeah, it's completely random. Doesn't matter when you press the green button after looking at a laptop or skipping. So if you're taking a lot of damage, maybe you're running through the caves desperate to try and get the items at the end without alerting or having to kill any enemies. But what happens when you do get a few cheeky hits in? Well, obviously when you're looking in your inventory, you actually pause the game. I only really realised this recently because I stopped panicking and took a moment and realised that I wasn't getting killed while looking. So you can go ahead and eat some of your painkillers, grab some food, get your stamina back, and then be prepared to deal with whatever's just took a chunk out of your health. I kinda would like it if they added the option to turn this off in future, as that would be good for more hardcore plays. Don't spend so long in your inventory that you forget you've got an enemy right in your face. So you may have been trying to replicate the dupe log situation. There's about 1 billion videos on it showing that you can duplicate logs by putting another log next to one. When it turns red, it'll actually still allow you to place, and then hopefully you'll be able to get another free log. It looks like this is only working mostly in multiplayer. I have failed to replicate it in my own single player world, but it is a known thing, so give it a shot in multiplayer. And if you knew a concrete way to do it in single player, let me know. However, this is the way that I found out from my viewers last night. So grab a log, place it on the floor, then grab a stick and place the stick underneath the log, just like that. Then knock the stick over and you should get a duped log. If you do it on a flat piece of ground, it works best. Sometimes the second log can spawn underneath the floor. It is going to take a bit longer than maybe that original method, but that's how you dupe logs in solo single player. If only we got more logs by chucking them at enemies. Your repair tool is useful. I hadn't really come across any damaged goods until eventually I finally got attacked, and you can notice this tiny little indicator showing that a log is broken nearby, hence why you can't place it. So that might be the only time you actually realise something's broke, if you go to place something. Grab your repair tool that you can make with a rock, some rope I do believe, and a stick, hit it a few times and that's it, done. Pretty obvious one, but I couldn't really notice a difference sometimes when I was trying to test my hammer out. Obviously I just hadn't taken enough damage. And don't forget, you can turn off damage to structures in the options menu. Just look under gameplay and you'll see it there. You might want to have that turned on, otherwise this might happen. Yep, if your shelving gets destroyed, anything on it is now lost. This has just happened to me in my 100 days world, literally on day 20, when I've extended the seasons and the snow's just hit. I've now lost all my food and my good gear. So pay attention to your shelves, make sure they're repaired, and don't put these up anywhere close to where any enemies can be given or got to. You need to make sure this is at the centre of your build, protected by lots of walls. Or yeah, turn off structure damage and hopefully that won't happen again. So while we're here, let's do arrow duplication. Yes, you can go ahead and just reload your game anywhere. Loot a spot, loot any bunker, any cave, go ahead, save your game, reload it, log back in and log back out, and all the items will respawn pretty much. It'll be random what you get in crates, but loose items on the floor should always be the same. But what if you're nowhere near a bunker that has arrows and you really want some to do something with? Well, there is a way you can do it. Using the shelves, you basically stack your arrows onto a shelf, but make sure you've got one actually loaded up in your bow. You then fire your arrow at the ground, pick it up and reload, and then go ahead and place that one arrow on a shelf, and again you've got another arrow still in your bow. You can do this as many times as you want, just set up a new spot if the shelf gets full on that one particular area. Slow but unlimited arrows. It works with all arrow types, whether it's 3D printed, regular or the carbon ones. What it doesn't work with is crossbows, not that I could find a way anyway. I figured it would maybe do the same job as you can reload, but instead what happens is you take the arrow out of your crossbow and it ends up going on the shelf. So fill up a shelf, make sure you've got at least one arrow notched and ready in your bow, then go ahead and fire it, reload, and then fill up your shelf with more arrows. So far this is the only item duplication glitch I've managed to find other than logs. And maybe sticks, as you do get some sticks when you do that log duplication one sometimes too. So never take full damage again, as long as you've got the sled on you. You can go ahead and jump off, and obviously you'll take a lot of damage from falling. There is a side semi-glitch that works sometimes if you've got your book in your hand when you fall. Sometimes that will also stop you taking damage, but you can't really move when you've got your book in hand. Not using a controller at least anyway. Given you can do the reload bug, as soon as you get to the first cave with the 3D printer in, you might as well go ahead and craft yourself a sled straight away, as it's the most expensive and can take a while to refill, and then go ahead and just reload your game and make everything else that you want. The sled is useful after all. If winter has become a struggle, or you really want to go and get winter on so you can build in the middle of a lake, more about that in a second, then you can go ahead and just skip every single night. If you're really struggling, you don't want to face more cannibals, because some players have been reporting you get more attacks, even though it's meant to be the opposite during winter. There's absolutely no penalty, no reason why you can't just sleep all the way through. Also, there's an achievement you need to get if you want to get the correct ending. I'll save more about it towards the end, but basically you've got to spend X amount of days with Virginia as your friend. Don't need to give her anything, she doesn't need to give anything for you, you just got to spend a good amount of time and eventually that achievement will pop. Okay, so you want to build a house on a lake where you can't be touched, except obviously in winter. The bad guys will come across that ice, so at various points in the game you are going to have to deal with them. Also, if you do sleep too many days, I have noticed you are awoken, or it gets harder because the enemies will literally be in your camp and it won't actually let you sleep. Thing to do there is have another save point just a bit further away and run towards it and run away from the enemies, and you can pretty much save there, and by the time the next day comes they'll be much gone, or they'll disappear in a couple of days. That's exactly what I did on this lake when I was testing this out. I set 2 spawn points on either side of the lake, and whenever there was enemies I would just run to the other side and go ahead and sleep and skip. Obviously you can see what I'm doing right now. I'm placing the foundation down just to show you guys, and you get the idea. Build the house of your dreams on the lake, why not? Now if you skip time, just go and see what it's like, or you've naturally come across it and this has always been your location, you may find that the ice is still there, even though it's meant to be spring. You'll realise this because your stamina bar isn't blocked off now by the cold. All you've got to do is log out and log back in, and the river or lake will now be unfrozen. Be careful what you build as well. You might want to make sure you've got a bridge going to your base, as it can be really challenging getting on top. If you built maybe very square-like structure, then you can go ahead and put a zip line into your base before you let the ice de-thaw or thaw out, and then that might be a good way. Obviously you can't bring the zip line in, so you're going to have to aim the zip line pretty much while the ice lake is frozen, just to make life a bit easier. Obviously this only works if you've got the rope gun. But you get the idea. If you don't want to build a massive bridge either, then make sure you've got a rope zip line before you decide to skip to where the ice has melted. Otherwise, you might have to spam jump a billion times at the corner and hopefully be able to get on top of your platform. So at the very least, build a ramp into the water. So a really cheesy one, particularly if you just want to see the endings of the game or you're really frustrated and you want to get through an area, grab a stick, go up to a door, make sure it's cycled so that you can actually place the stick rather than a fire, and then simply line it up and you should be able to get through pretty much any doorway. For speedrunners using glitches, I guess it might be a thing, and like I said, if you're really frustrated by something, maybe this will be for you. Use the same method to get out and it works pretty much on any single doorway. You can use it to get out of the terrain on all sorts of places, so again you might be able to find lots of ways that you can get through certain zones without having to face creepies and more. But do be warned, just like always, you've got a chance of falling through the map and then you really will see the game completely and utterly broken. So always make sure you've got a save point just before you try any of this glitchy cheesiness. Now if you're using this on the end section, well, you don't really need to. There's no enemies inside this actual particular dungeon. Unless there's something I missed, I did this on a pretty normal game mode. I didn't encounter a single enemy. Spoilers of course, this is exactly where you can get through the golden door using exactly the same method. You don't need the golden armor. And there you go, you can go and complete the game as long as you've got the legs to run past all the demons that you find in this cave. And that's it. That's like the most popular glitches and cheeses, as well as some basics that I feel a lot of people may have missed. I will have in a much better detailed tips and starter guide incoming. Go and check out the ones I've already done and the location guides. And if you want to see me play Sons of the Forest every day live streaming it, then check out my channel JADE-PG100. It's another channel where I live stream and we'll be doing a 100 days video as soon as I complete it. Until next time, rat bags, laters.